बहुत शुक्रिया, बहुत शुक्रिया.
चलो चलें.
चलो चलें, let's go.
आगे चलें.
Very good.
So now you are going back from Pakistan, and we will definitely miss you. So tell us about your stay in Pakistan. How was that?
Well, it's right, Ahmed, that you've started with the cricket, because the cricket is cricket. Everyone loves cricket, and I think I said in that first interview, it's in our blood. Hamare hoon mein hai. But it represents so much more. And every day in my job here, it has come back to one thing, and that is the relationship between the two countries. Because you know how I've said, hum ek saath hain, UK-Pak dosti hain. Pakistan और बरतानिया के ताल्लुकात बहुत मजबूत है. It's big, it's ahem, it's important. And it's those people-to-people ties. Everyone I meet says, oh, London, it's like my second home. Oh, my friends there, my cousins there, the time I spent there. And for me, actually, as ambassador, it's been a privilege to do this job because you are protecting that relationship, you're curating it. And there are very, very few countries in the world that have that depth of understanding of each other. It doesn't mean we always agree. My job is not to be a cheerleader for Pakistan, it's to advance British interests. But it's meant that I've always had that sense of a deep connection between our two countries. And that's what I will take away with me.
So you recently summarized your stay in Pakistan by narrating your thoughts from A to Z. And you wrote, as I prepare to leave, I will tweet alphabetically for 26 days to highlight the best of my experiences and work in this khoobsurat country. And A is for airlines.
Yes.
Why?
Because those people-to-people links don't work unless people can fly. And we got British Airways cemented in their schedule here, flying to Lahore and Islamabad, Virgin Atlantic, another airline coming here for the first time. And that then allows the people to travel, the tourists, the trade, the cricketers to travel. Everybody benefits when those air links are strong. That's why it was such an important development.
And B is for the business.
Business. So I think you want a British High Commissioner not sitting here talking about Afghanistan, about security, important that those issues are. The big story in this town, in this country, and across the world at the minute is the economy, economic growth. Our part in that should be bringing jobs, bringing investment, bringing that economic growth. And if I may, as I leave Pakistan, one of the things I would most like to see is more consensus around the hard and difficult steps needed for economic reform. This is too important to leave to different sides to play politics with. The economy is absolutely vital, and for our part as friends and partners, bringing business investment should be a key part of what you expect me to do.
And there was a donors conference in Geneva.
Yes.
Yesterday you also made some tweets. So what do you see the future of Pakistan?
Well, look, the floods this year have been extraordinarily difficult. And, most of these things in my A to Z I was talking about, these are rich, warm, happy memories. But we've had some difficult times as well. The coronavirus pandemic, yes, the takeover of the Taliban in Afghanistan. But the floods this year have been absolutely devastating. And there is no doubt that Pakistan is on the front line of the world climate emergency. And the money which the world community pledged in Geneva is incredibly important to help Pakistan rebuild. For the UK, it was £36 million we've now pledged to the immediate recovery, and £91 million overall, as well as money direct from the British people to help with climate change. That is what we have got to do if countries like Pakistan are to adapt and be resilient to these extreme weather events. Even in London last year, Hamid, we had a temperature of 43 degrees in London. We can't cope with that any more than you can be expected to cope with the rainfall and the floods last year. So it's a tough challenge.
So the climate change is an international phenomenon.
Yeah, and when I first arrived here and I talked about climate change, very few people were interested. Now we all know this is a vital issue. The glaciers that are melting in the north, the flood water on which agriculture normally depends, if those waters go away and we just have these extreme floods, it's devastating for the people of Pakistan.
And you wrote C is for cricket.
Well, of course. The thing I am happiest about in my time here was that commitment which you are responsible for, sir. Because you forced me live on air, I think, to say that I would bring cricket back. And we then had a difficult period. We built towards a tour. It nearly happened. It got cancelled. And to be present this autumn at the return of England cricket, I was
How did
deeply
you
excited.
convince your security guys to allow cricket team to come Pakistan?
So look, it's called diplomacy, and I think at heart there is something else that runs through my experience. There are lots of negative perceptions of Pakistan, but those perceptions don't always match reality. The security situation in this country now is very different to 5, let alone 10 years ago, and part of my job was to explain that, work with the PCB, enormous credit to the PCB, under Ehsan Mani, then Ramiz Raja, to the ECB, to show we could put a proper tour on, and it was a real team effort.
And D is for diaspora.
Diaspora. So that's the word we use for the Pakistanis in the UK. 1.6 million people in the UK and Britain trace their heritage back to Pakistan. Over 100,000 British nationals here in Pakistan, maybe 400,000 travelling back and forth. It's a deep bond.
And E is for education.
Education, the issue we don't talk about enough.
Yes.
Because you think about the demographic, what, 50–60% of the country is beneath 30, even more, 75% under 18. Those kids are the country's future.
And in your tenure, record numbers of visas were issued to the students.
Yes, so I want to see more and more students coming back and forth, and student visas are being granted at the rate of about 97%. So if you want to study in the UK, please apply.
And we have discussed F is for the floods.
For the floods, difficult floods.
And G is for gender.
G is for gender. So even the biggest fan and supporter of Pakistan cannot but admit that the gender record is less than it should be. No country can achieve its potential without 50% of its population. As Quaid-e-Azam said, we must empower our women and give them the strength that they deserve, and show many amazing female Pakistani role models that I have worked with. So no apology for talking about strong Pakistani women and the need for them to have a central role in our public and economic life.
And H is for heritage.
Heritage. So I am a historian, and the history of this country, diverse history, I have loved visiting, and places like Rohtas Fort, Mackley, the World Heritage Sites, they need protecting and promoting.
And we are still using the old British colonial laws. Even the sedition case is, sedition law is changed in British, but we are still using that.
You know, if there's any problems in the end, it's our fault.
So I will skip to J. J is for Jinnah.
J is for Jinnah because I think his founding vision was so striking. I mean, he is such a character in the country. His mausoleum, one of the first places I visited in Karachi, and reading again some of his writings, there's a lot of wisdom and things we should follow in what Quaid-e-Azam said.
And K is for Khana. So what is your favorite Khana in Pakistan?
So now I have a confession. If there is a fight between England and Pakistan on savoury food, Pakistan wins. On puddings, on dessert, English food I think is better.
Okay.
But I love anything with dal, anything with saag, and I will take that home with me. I'll be looking for that nice desi food across England wherever I can find it.
Yeah. And why you wrote that L is for the libraries?
So this is about the British Council. So a very important part of our work here is the British Council, who do a lot of the education, the exams, those student links you talk about, and they have these libraries in Lahore and Karachi, which still provide a wonderful place for anyone of all ages to come and learn and to read and to meet each other.
And you wrote M is for the Margla Hills.
So one of the best things about living in Islamabad is your access to the Margla Hills, and you will know that I go walking there. I have been many times early in the morning, at weekends. Some ambassadors, they go and play golf. I don't want to play golf. But walking in the Margla Hills...
You don't play golf?
I don't play golf. Sorry to confess.
Okay.
But walking in the hills, I'm a trekking high commissioner, so very happy doing that.
Why people say that you are Pakistan's ambassador in UK?
Well, this is dangerous because it might mean that I get sacked for not doing my job. As I said a moment ago, my job is not to be a cheerleader, but if I see things in those perceptions that are wrong, I think it is my job to call it out.
Yeah.
And it's because of those people ties we've been talking about, the diaspora, that it's as easy to do my job in Manchester and Bradford and Leeds as it is here. And I do feel strongly that that need to be an advocate. I've said publicly that although this week I will stop being an ambassador to Pakistan, I will become an ambassador for Pakistan. I'm going back to a job at HQ in London. Wherever I am in the world, I will be watching, following, and keeping in touch with my friends here.
And that's why you try to sensitize Pakistanis on certain important issues, like you wrote, P is for population.
Population. So a bit like the education, the girls' education, it's one of those things where if we don't address it, it's so foundational, the population is growing fast, so I think no apologies for talking about family planning, about contraception, about population growth, because with 220 million people, if that doubles by the middle of the century, the pressures on the country will be even greater.
And Q is for Qawwali. You like Qawwali?
You know, Qawwali, it is very distinct. So if you're here and you're getting to know Pakistani music, I had an evening with Rafa Fateh Ali Khan, amazing performer, lots of music in
Can
the
you
UK.
sing some Qawwali?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely
No,
not.
I've already danced.
Absolutely
I've
not.
already danced on TV for cricket.
Okay.
Singing would be a step too far. But I also needed a cue, and it was the only cue I could think of. So.
Okay. And R is for rubbish.
So this is an interesting one. I picked up this rubbish in the Margala Hills, and it was quite spontaneous. It wasn't planned. Your country is bahut khubsurat. The landscapes, the hills, the rivers. And when you go to these places and you see plastic bottles, leftover lunches thrown away, it really saddens me. A small effort by everybody, and you can keep the country
हाई
clean.
कमिश्नर साहब कह रहे हैं कि तफरीही मुकामात और ख़ास तौर पे मार्गला हिल में जब आप सैर करने के लिए जाते हैं तो बराए करम वहाँ पे कूड़ा क्रिकेट ना फैलाया करें प्लीज़, ये गंदी हरकत है, ये काम मत किया करें. एंड वाई S is for skiing in the Swat.
So this was an extraordinary experience, and the mountains, I love the mountains, and the mountains, the north as well. There's more ice in Pakistan than anywhere else in the world outside the polar regions. And very early in my time, I got to go to the beautiful Swat Valley, to Malam Jabba, where I did some skiing, and it was a wonderful experience.
And I will jump to Z. Z is Zindabad.
Pakistan, UK, Dosti, Zindabad.
Okay, so that is your conclusion.
That is my conclusion. I think our relationship is if you like, non-discretionary. And like good friends, we must listen to one another, talk to one another. I'm not saying these are easy times. They're not an easy time in geopolitics. For all this positive stuff we've talked about, as I say, there have been some real challenges I've worked on in my time here. And that is where countries need to reach out and talk to one another, not move away and go to the edges. It's why diplomacy, I think, still is very important. And I can say very honestly, and I hope you and your viewers can see it, that I will take Pakistan mera dil mein hai. It will be in my heart as I go, and it'll be a long, long time before I'm not feeling sad about leaving Pakistan behind.
And your last message for the common Pakistanis, you stayed here for 3 years. What is your best memory you can share with the common Pakistanis?
So I think if there is one memory, it will be the national anthems being played at the start of the first test match in Rawalpindi. Because it was a coming together. And as a diplomat, I'm a builder of bridges, not of walls. And as I'm alluding, in British politics, in Pakistani politics, there are too many people moving away from each other. And I think we must remember the art of disagreeing well. We have disagreements with many people, with some of our closest friends and loved ones, but we do it with respect. And for all the difficulty of getting those test matches and cricket returning, the cricket represented so much more about that Dosti. And that moment and all the work we had done with the two boards, when I stood in Rawalpindi after 17 years and heard our national anthem, God Save the King, of course, as it now is, and your national anthem, and saw the two teams there with Ben Stokes and Babar Azam, there was a tear in my eye.
Thank you very much, and best of luck for your future, and hope to see you again in Pakistan.
बहुत शुक्रिया. I will not say खुदा हाफिज.
खुदा हाफिज.
सिर्फ क्योंकि मुझे उम्मीद है कि मैं वापस आऊँगा, सिर्फ फिर मिलेंगे.
फिर मिलेंगे.
फिर मिलेंगे. बहुत